Welcome back to the Real Personal Branding Podcast. I am Lauren V. Davis, and recently I went to the National Speakers Association Conference. It was held in Colorado, and for those of you who don't know what NSA is or the National Speaker Association, it's basically the top organization for professional speakers. It helps people grow their speaking business, connect with industry leaders, become way better at what we do, right? It's for thought leaders who want to grow their speaking business and improve their craft. It provides networking opportunities, educational opportunities, events that I love to go to. It's kind of like, it's basically the industry standard for speakers. It's kind of where they go to build their business. And so I went for the first time. I attended as a speaker myself. I attended to learn and share and bring back the best insights for you. And while I was there, I was networking, and I am an introvert. And so, of course, I thought of the best way for me to network in a group of people that I just don't know. And that was to offer podcast interviews to speakers who wanted to share a little bit more of their stories. So as I walked through this conference and I joined the groups and the Facebook groups, the WhatsApp groups, I said, hey, if you want me to put your story out there into the world on my podcast, I would love to do a mini interview with you. And so a bunch of people raised their hands. I got to interview such really cool people. And oh my gosh, there were so many people that I wanted to interview that I didn't even get a chance to talk to or have this interview with. But, we talked and we networked and we had so much fun. So I'll try to bring you those people on future episodes, maybe as a full episode. That being said, as a speaker myself, I attended to learn, share, bring back the best tips for you. And while I was there, I sat down with these incredible speakers to hear their best tips, stories, lessons. In this special episode, you're going to get to learn from them just like I did. Let's get started. Mimi Brown is a motivational speaker, a transformational leadership coach, and a TEDx speaker. Thank you for being here with me today.
I am super geeked.
Yay! How many years have you been a speaker?
I've been a speaker for well over 15 years.
Wow, very cool. What is the topic that you love to speak about?
So I love helping retain women talent for organizations, and most specifically, helping women leaders learn how to grow their confidence, courage, and authenticity in what they do.
Was there a fork in the road moment where you decided okay, I'm going to pursue professional speaking now, and that it kind of started happening for you?
So I've always loved the art of speaking, but there was one moment where I was stuck, where I had one foot in corporate, one foot in speaking. I'd been speaking for a little bit and had some success, but I still needed that paycheck. Mm-hmm. And I actually walked into my boss's office and I told him at this point that I was ready for a leadership role. And he looked at me and he said, you're too much.
Oh, no.
You need to tone it down if you want to make it here at this point. I've been around here 33 years. I know what it takes. And when I tell you my spirit was broken, because I had just said I was going to go all in on this corporate thing and do it. And so I called my mentor and I said, how do I tone down who I am? And she said, you don't tone down who you are. You turn it up. And so 3 months later, I gave my notice and I stepped into speaking full time and haven't looked back since.
Thank you for sharing that. What makes you so passionate about what you talk about?
Having worked in a corporate environment and seeing a lot of women's voices just muted or they feel downtrodden or they don't have hope. I want to be that spark for them that reminds them of who, as one of my mentors used to say, who the hell you are, know who the hell you are, right?
Yeah.
And when you're reminded of that and given that power, you can accomplish anything.
Okay, what is the best piece of tactical advice that you could give to someone who is just starting out as a speaker or is wanting to become more of a professional speaker, more of a booked speaker? What kind of advice would you give them?
The number one piece of advice to go out and do it. Stop talking about it and be about it. As one of my coaches used to say, Lenny Kalakos, she said, stop getting ready to get ready. Go do the thing. Speaking is a contact sport. And what I mean by that is you can't go read a book or think about it in theory. You need to go out and do it. Yeah. So that whenever someone tells me they're getting started in the speaking industry, specifically, I'll say, make your Power 100 list. 100 people who know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
Write your program description before you create it physically and go out and sell it like there's no tomorrow and get super passionate and excited about it. Create a sexy title, have the learning objectives, and then go out and sell it like you've already created it. And what you do is you start to build momentum and energy in that space. And it's amazing the spark that happens. I just had a mentee of mine do this, and he booked his first paid gig within like 2 weeks of that advice.
It's like this Ralph Waldo Emerson quote that says, "We are always getting ready to live, but never living."
Oh,
yeah.
Yep. Stop getting ready to get ready.
Right. Exactly. All right. And where do you want people to find you? Where can people come find you, get in touch with your content?
So come hang out with me on Instagram and Facebook at Hey Mimi Brown.
Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn as the motivational leadership speaker. And if you want more information about me, ampupsuccess.com. So AMPUP success.com.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Robbie Samuels is a book launch strategist, a business growth coach, an executive Zoom producer, event design consultant, a speaker, an MC, a 3 times author with over 650 plus reviews, a TEDx speaker, and a 9-year podcaster. How many years have you been a speaker, Robbie?
I have been speaking professionally since 2009. It's when I first got paid, but I was doing pro bono for a few years before that, and I was also speaking in college on a variety of topics, and then I had a large gap. So on and off for a long time.
That's amazing. And what is your topic of expertise?
Lately, my focus is helping entrepreneurs become successful authors by creating profitable book launches that get 50 or more Amazon reviews and creates a pipeline for the offers that come after the book. But I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur, so I also do talks around designing, engaging, and transformative virtual events on Zoom. And I have some other talks in my back pocket that I'm known for.
Very cool. What makes you so passionate about these topics?
I love just bringing people together. I have this belief also in the philosophy of abundance that if I give away time or money, I have less of that. But if I give away knowledge, then I may reap a benefit down the line, but either way, it is about sort of uplifting my community and building community around that. So I just think that it's a way to pull people towards me. And if I've struggled to figure out something, I'm just feel really motivated to share, to point out the potholes for other people. Some will run with it and DIY, and that's not an ideal client. But if I can show them the bigger problem that they didn't even know they were having to deal with, and I'm a good solution for that, then they're perfect. They're an ideal client.
Was there ever a fork in the road moment that kind of made you say like, okay, I'm gonna become a professional speaker now, or I'm gonna build this business now? Tell us about your fork in the road moment.
Well, my fork in the road moment was actually 10 years after I committed to becoming a professional speaker. 5 years in, I was speaking on the side. It was getting paid 2009, 2014. I left my day job to focus on this full time, launched a podcast. My first book came out. I did a group coaching program, hired my mentor to coach me. She said, do articles for Harvard Business Review, do a TEDx. I'm like, oh, I paid you to tell me that. And then I did it. And my TEDx talk came out in January of 2020. And I was an overnight success, 10 years in the making, or so I thought. My topic up to that point was networking at events. And 2 months later, we were all at home. So that was sort of my fork in the road moment, was figuring out what was the reinvention. And that's when I hosted my first virtual happy hour on March 13th, 2020. And by the end of 2020, I had a thriving new 6-figure business, all new revenue streams. And my second book documents how I did that. And my third book was finally about Zoom.
Wow. I love that story. You really took something that kind of became like a bummer for so many people and leaned into it and made it your own. Very cool. What is the best advice that you could share with a speaker who would like to have a successful speaking business? Like something really tactical that you could share with them?
I think it's really important for us to know who our audience is and not to create content and products and services in our head. I think too many of us have what I call expert syndrome. Like we see people and we're like, oh, I know exactly what they need. Problem is that person doesn't know what they need. So the problems that they know they have that they're willing to admit, I call those the little p problems. We have to have a way to market to that while still helping them become aware of, through our interactions, our marketing, our messaging, the bigger P problem. Because when they're not taking action around the little p, that's because they don't actually know the bigger problem. But when they are aware of the bigger problem, they know there's a possible solution, they know you're a possible guide. Now the question is whether or not they're going to take action. And the cost of inaction is something you can ask them. Because for some people, the cost of inaction is too high, and that's where there's greater urgency. And that's when you know you've nailed it. You've created the right kind of pipeline that will attract the people to you who need your help.
Oh my gosh, so good. I love that. And where is the best place that people can find you?
I'm all over LinkedIn, so you can definitely find me there, but also robbiesamuels.com.
Thank you. Jodi Wellman is a keynote speaker, the best-selling author of You Only Die Once, founder of 4,000 Mondays, and fun fact, Jodi and I hit it off so well at this conference that you'll actually hear a full episode with Jodi and her story coming soon. So excited to bring you that, but for now, enjoy this micro interview. How many years have you been a speaker, Jodi?
I've been speaking since 2019, so mathematically that's 5 years?
Yeah,
Don't
that's amazing. And what is the topic of your expertise?
Well, I like to say that I am buddied up with a Grim Reaper. So my expertise would be around mortality and how it can be a motivator to help us live with more of a sense of intention. Not existential dread, urgency and intention, but more of like, oh, wow, like I have 1,814 Mondays left. Like I should get on with this.
Yeah. And you said something the other day about how you started your business around the concept of 4,000 Mondays. Can you tell me what that means?
Totally. Yeah, when I was starting my firm, so back in 2020, I realized that I wanted something that would be a little bit, do a little bit of the work, but also be curious for people, curiosity inducing. So in my sticky notes of all of the names of what I could call my company, I realized, wait a sec, part of my thing is making life, like break it down to the ridiculous, like in a granular. So if I was like, wait a minute, you get roughly 4,000 weeks to live. And
Wow.
days, some people will say, why not 4,000 Fridays? But I just think that's too easy because everybody loves a Friday. Everybody's going to love their life if they think of it as they have however many Fridays left.
Yeah.
But Mondays are a good way to be like, do I like what I'm doing with my life or do I need to make some changes in my life,
Yeah. Was there a fork in the road moment that brought you from being a sometimes speaker to being a speaker that is booked? And how did this passion and this thought tie into that?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. And I feel like I'm in a really fabulous therapy session right now because this is so good to make me be thinking, okay, so I was doing leadership development with a business partner. And I went to school to learn about positive psychology. And I was doing my thesis on this topic of memento mori, like remembering we'll die and how it can help us to exactly what I've been talking about. And I felt like, oh my gosh, there's all this information. And I felt more and more confident because confidence for me has always been like the wild card. Will I have enough confidence to execute on my dream or will I chicken out? And so this is the thing though, that I was like, oh God, I got like to practice what I preach or like I'm talking about making the most of our short existence. And I have this dream about creating programs and workshops. And at the time I was doing coaching about helping people to do this. And so I was like, how do I not make this my brand? Like I would be on my deathbed regretting the crap out of not making 4,000 Mondays my thing rather than going along with like the do like just okay, really cool, but like not fabulous, like way of doing my, like the leadership work. And I was like, dude, do what you tell, like life is too short to not make the brand and live the life that you've been dreaming about.
Right.
It kind of felt to me like after I studied and realized it was like I couldn't unsee it, Like I couldn't unsee it after getting the confidence that I basically bought.
Yeah.
After going to school.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I know that you shared a little bit about what your passion is behind this and why you're so passionate about living every day and being so present every day. Can you tell us a little bit more about what makes you so passionate about what you talk about?
Oh, yeah. My mom died when she was 58 of a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't even like, it was obviously crappy that she died early. And it was more that my perception was that she had a bunch of regrets. She had all these business plans and even manuscripts, which is kind of a funny thing because I just realized after having gotten up the gumption and, publishing my own book, I think I kind of did it almost like, not for her, that sounds really cheesy. I don't want to hold a seance. Mom, did you see it? But like, she had all these dreams that she didn't execute. And I realized that that was my MO, having some of these ideas, but then, maybe feeling like, well, I'll do them later.
Yeah.
I'm highly suspicious of later now.
Yeah.
Or I just, I'm busy with this other thing. Okay, yeah, well, you'll always be busy. Or it was just, really, it's just all code for just being free.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. If you had any advice that you could share with a speaker who is kind of just getting started, but who would like to be a successful speaker, have a successful speaker business, what kind of advice would you share with them?
Oh, wow. Well, I would start, existentially, of course, and just be like, what are you waiting for? Like, just like jump in the deep end of the pool and just do it, because we'll tinker and toy with the font,
yeah,
the PowerPoint forever, at least I do, or the idea, or, I have to go and get this other, I have to take this other course first. Like, just freaking flip and do it.
Yeah.
Because we'll figure it out along the way. We're too smart to not. Like, we'll figure out, okay, I'm sure there are lots of really great tactical pieces of advice, like, get feedback.
Okay.
And listen, like, truly be open to, because I think we build something and then we get so
invested
attached.
in it. Yeah.
Like, I want this to be it. Because also, if someone gives me feedback, it's going to hurt my feelings. So that's an emotional kick in the butt. But I also feel like, well, now, what do you mean I'm going to have to, like, rework this thing that I was procrastinating for 4 years and now I just did it, and you have to tell me, like, so just, but be willing to look at it like, as much as I say life's short, maybe potentially we also have a long ride and we can still tweak it along the way if we're willing to just get some like feedback.
Yeah. Get the feedback, like, take the feedback in and take away from it what you need, and you don't have to follow every piece of advice, right?
That's even better.
Yeah.
I love that, because you consider the source. Like, I did have somebody, this is so funny.
Consider the source.
I was speaking at a resort a few weeks ago, and I brought my sister with me. And my sister went on a hike, and this other woman was saying, I don't like the idea of 4,000 Mondays. I don't want to know how much time I have left. And, like, hey, that's fine, like, to each your own. But it's one of those things where if she was to give me feedback on any content or the nature of some of my presentation, I would need to absolutely be like, wait a sec, this is from someone who's not, like, we're not, she wouldn't be my audience.
Yes.
And so that was a good learning. Like, I'm not going to crater the business because one woman in Mexico didn't enjoy the concept of dying.
Yeah.
I do. But it was a good little
reminder.
Good feedback, and also
consider the source. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for interviewing today. It was so nice meeting you.
It was great to meet you too.
Gwen Navarrete Klapperich is a talent development leader in inclusion and accessible training. How many years have you been speaking?
So I've been a trainer for over 20 years, but the speaking circuit probably, I would say, the last 2 to 3 years.
Nice. And what is your topic of expertise?
My topic of expertise is how to help trainers, coaches, consultants, and speakers on how to make their presentations, courses, classes more accessible and inclusive for their learners or their audience.
And you were telling me a little bit about this the other day when we were at the session, and you were talking about how, like, sometimes things aren't readable or sometimes people can't hear. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So when you go to a presentation, or any speaker or any trainer, for that matter, wants to reach as many people as possible because they want to spread their message. Well, if not everybody can see your message or read your message or hear your message, then you've lost a good maybe 15 to 20% of your audience, because 1 in 4 people in this country has a disability. And so the chances that somebody in your audience has a disability that will prevent them from absorbing your content is pretty high.
Yeah. Was there ever a fork in the road moment that made you kind of decide that you wanted to pursue speaking professionally?
So I started on this trajectory of inclusive and accessible training and now speaking. I got married in 2011, and I became an instant step parent to a young man with challenges. And I realized that nowhere in my profession at the time, which was training, which is still my profession, is there a way for us to help these kids learn how to do their jobs when they get to the workforce.
Oh.
Because there's programs, but there's more and more people who are autistic who are joining the workforce. Neurodivergence is a big thing. So when that really became a big thing in the last year or so, I said, okay, I need to really kind of focus that message and spread that message a little bit more. So that's why I decided I'm going to start speaking. And so I've been speaking at training conferences, but the reason why I'm here is because I want to be able to speak at other conferences for other audiences.
Got it. And what do you, I feel like that was an answer full of passion, but is there anything that makes you specifically very passionate about this subject?
I think just the idea of people being seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a disability as well. ADHD is actually classified as a disability. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how much you don't understand how difficult life can be or how challenging life can be until you have that disability. Disability is one of the only groups in the world where anybody can join it at any time. You could break your leg, you could get into a car accident, you could, get really ill, you could, get cancer. All of those things fall under the disability umbrella. And I think it's just really important that we are cognizant of that and we recognize that those are some of the things that our audience are going to be dealing with. And not to say that we're going to ignore them because we think they can't, but how do we make things accessible so that they can?
That's such a great point. What do you think would be your best advice to a speaker who is just starting to speak, wanting to build a more professional career out of training, out of speaking, out of being in the industries that you're in? What kind of tactical advice would you give them?
Oh, I'm still learning that myself, but I would say definitely join the professional organizations, either in your industry or or NSA if you want to be a speaker. But also too, I'm a trainer, so I belong to the Association for Talent Development. That has meant the world for my career. It has, if you serve in these organizations, the chances of you meeting more people and getting more referrals and more people to know you is actually a really great way to kind of build your network that way.
So building your network is key for sure.
Yeah.
Great. And where is the best place for people to find you?
www.kitaconsult.com. So K as in Klapperich, I as in international, T as in training, and A as in associates. So kitaconsult.com. I'm also on LinkedIn under Gwen Navarrete Klapperich. And I think I'm under, what is it, X now?
Yeah.
GCN Wright. GCNWRITE.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Genie Snyder is a speaker, an MC, an executive advisor, certified speaking professional, coach, and genius connector. Genie, how many years have you been a speaker and why did you decide to become a speaker?
I've been a speaker probably since I could speak, first grade. I've been a professional speaker, I would say about 25, 30 years. Wow. And why did the second question was?
Like, what brought you here? What brought you to become a speaker?
I think it is my love of seeing people's light bulbs go on. And so it is more about the audience and that engagement. A lot of our work is based on connection. And so to me, it's not just about speaking, but it's about the connection and cultivation of a message that resonates with somebody else.
And that
eyes light up. That's what draws me to speak.
And that brings me to my second question, which is, what is your area of expertise? What's the area that you talk about?
Well, as you might guess from our branding, I help people bring out their genius.
Oh, love that.
And the way that I approach that is the more common terms. We work with leadership, communication, and service and process. And what that means is leadership, you kind of know, communication, helping people talk better together. The process is I like to talk to people about what are their processes for how they do what they do. And then the last is service and how they are actually serving others, whoever their audience is. But I like to work with leaders of leaders. So not just people climbing the ladder, but I'm working with people who are also helping to bring out the genius in other leaders.
And their leaders.
Consistently developing people and helping them bring out their genius.
Did you ever have a fork in the road moment that you said, okay, I'm going to now lean into being a professional speaker full time?
And yes, I call it an intersection.
Intersection, great.
That's what we talk about, how strange parts of our genius intersect. So it's not just you're a banker, but you might be a banker and a baseball player.
Yeah.
Somehow that comes together, and I just hit the wire. So sorry, that was from me, not her. But when I spoke professionally in my paid jobs. And so I've always been a speaker. There was a moment when I switched to say, I'm going to start my own business as a speaker. I already had an events business, and had done that for a number of years and as my side. And then I've kind of blended them into both corporate and private events. But I learned that as part of those things, yes, I speak, but I think that where it all culminated in the fork in the road was probably realizing how important it is to MC your genius and to be an MC. I think I was a professional MC before I called it that.
Got it.
And so not just keynoting, but also emceeing and bringing events together. You can have a stage full of amazing speakers, but the MC person is what brings it together, because now you're seeing where it lands. You're making sure that all the work that's been done for whatever the event is, whoever the speaker is, that it's actually connecting with the audience. So I would say that's probably when I became a professional speaker and MC, is when I realized the need for not just doing the gig, but actually weaving that kind of genius through. And when I say that genius, the genius of whoever's involved, the audience, the other speakers, etc. But I left that when I was in a regular job. I went to work for somebody like me for about a year. And in that time frame, I decided, I said, I think I'm going to do something different. He said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to do this.
I love that.
It was not, I'd love to tell you what my business plan was and all of that, but no, it was a moment in time that I really felt led to do this, then really started pursuing how to be a professional speaker.
So I love how you talk about grabbing the genius out of people and kind of finding that intersection between the things that they do and helping leaders make stronger leaders. But is there something that made you super passionate about helping leaders? Is there something that happened in your life that helped you become passionate about that yourself?
I'm really grateful to have had really strong leaders and mentors in my life.
Makes a difference.
We all say that, but I think, and I'm not saying that I went and found mentors. I just had people in my life that gave me some of the hard lessons. They weren't always the ones that said, Jeannie, you're great. They were the ones that might have held up the mirror and said, okay, let's shift over here. And those people are older and younger and peers. But I think watching how they led guides me to want to lead and lead others and find people that like to lead others.
And if you were to give your best piece of tangible advice that you could share with a speaker who is building their speaker business right now for the first time, what kind of tangible, actionable, or practical tip would you give them?
Well, as you might suggest, my first thing is always going to be is explore your genius. I think we sometimes, as new speakers, we were just talking about this as we are seasoned speakers, and we were just talking about this at lunch, that we sometimes try to, oh, well, I heard that, and should I do it like that? And it doesn't matter how long you're in the business. I think you tend to do that. So my suggestion to aspiring speakers, emerging speakers, whether you are a young emerging speaker or you're switching gears into that, is still be you, find your genius, in my terminology, and make sure that is what's guiding how you speak, how you present, and more importantly, how you run your business, and not just try to be like the last person.
Love that. Thank you so much for speaking with me.
Thank you. Well, I love how your genius intersects.
Thank you.
Talking about what you're doing and traveling and helping all of us become better speakers.
Traci Ruiz is a high-stakes leadership and international keynote speaker, a strategic advisor, and a leadership facilitator on corporate culture, diversity, equity, and belonging, a community advocate, and a public safety and police leader. Traci, how many years have you been a speaker?
I would say most of my life. So I've been in public safety for 39 years and 25 plus as a police leader.
Wow. And what is your topic of expertise?
So my police topic of expertise was hand-to-hand combat, de-escalation tactics. And I have now, after retirement, worked 25 years now at our agency. And so now, post-retirement, now into my second career, which is a speaking, consulting, and coaching business. And it's about leadership and tapping into that leadership. So I work with organizations who want to elevate or enhance their leadership, mitigate risk, and save lives.
Oh, I love that. Was there ever a fork in the road moment that you feel like brought you from wanting to speak to kind of really pursuing the professional side of speaking?
I wouldn't say a fork in the road because I went from the police career into speaking.
but it's been an absolute good ride, a great learning experience, and it's being a rookie again. I think back to my rookie cop years, and so it's interesting, the 180 shift, learning business.
Yeah.
And so that has been wonderful.
What do you feel is one of the coolest things you've learned about the business side of speaking that's really transformed your speaking career?
I would have to say it's taking, I wouldn't say really new learning, but taking what I already had in my other career. And the secret sauce was connecting with people and building trust. So as a leader, you ask people to follow you. People won't follow unless they trust you. And so truly building that community connection, so call it community building, whether it's internal, external for your organization, that is really what's been extremely beneficial, especially with this second journey.
Yeah.
So on that second journey, really the connections, they always say your network is your net worth, right?
Right.
So it's the same thing, building those connections within the speaker journey. And we obviously have a lot of speakers in the industry who are very generous, and many of us know each other and are willing to give back and
help each other.
Yes, help each other. But the great part is not only we go out and work, but we also give back to our communities as well.
Oh, I love that. What makes you feel very passionate about the topic that you speak on?
I think it's inbred. I guess inbred in me throughout my entire police career. And for some, I hear people that they say social media is easy for them to do, or podcasting, for instance, like easy for you to do. Leadership was one of those things throughout my entire career I was doing. So it was easy to shift and take that because I was already speaking in my government career and training for all those years, and taking it to another level with corporate. Corporate is my target audience. And bringing that compassionate side of corporate has really been fun, because it's that when you talk about leadership and building community and building trust, people have to know that they're safe at work. They have to feel secure, their voice is heard, and then they feel like then they can elevate that team.
Yeah.
That there's promotability for all, that there's belonging. Bringing that soft side, which is very abnormal because typically in law enforcement, it's those hard skills, right? But now more and more I'm teaching corporate these soft skills.
Yeah, I think what I hear is like there's a lot of conceptions about, who the person is that you are teaching, or who the person is that would be teaching within a certain industry. And you get to take those soft, like empathetic, those communication skills and bring them to an industry that, could really be expanded by that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, coming from a law enforcement career that was mostly militaristic, there's a lot of do as I say, and it's not really allowing it. Our new generation, even millennials and beyond, the younger generation is not having that.
Right.
They want to be able to have a say, voice, be heard. And of course, everybody should have that right.
Right. Oh, that's beautiful. What is the best advice that you could share as someone who has had a lifelong career in speaking? What is the best advice that you could share that's tactical for making a business out of your speaking career, like making a business out of your speaking income stream?
I think it has to be authenticity. You have to be true to yourself. People see through that, and they can read when you're not genuine. And so bringing that authentic self, the uniqueness. So what you bring to your podcasting or what you bring to your space is unique to you. I'm not Lauren.
Right.
So I don't have those skills.
Right.
I have different skills, and that's what makes Traci special or Lauren special. So I would say the number one secret sauce has to be authenticity.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing that makes you you, and it makes you different, and your experience is different than anyone else's. So very good. Thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
Absolutely. People can find me on LinkedIn. That's the easiest way at Traci Ruiz. And you'll usually see a little patrol car or a little light bubble.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Amber Swenor is a keynote speaker, a business coach, a team and leadership consultant, a Wall Street Journal bestseller, and an award-winning expert in authentic leadership that drives results. Amber, how many years have you been a speaker, and why did you decide that you wanted to be a speaker? What kind of brought you to this place now?
So I've been speaking over 30 years. Since about 7 or 8 years old, I started signing myself up for speaking contests.
Wow.
But really professionally 10 years ago when I started my business.
Great. And what do you speak about? What's your topic of expertise?
It all centers around authenticity and leadership, and helping leaders and teams really tap into their zone of genius, work better together, and bring out more authentic success from just a really meaningful, purpose-aligned place.
What happens when teams and leaders actually dig into that authenticity? What actually happens for them? How do they transform?
It creates greater trust and open communication, which ultimately leads to more sustainability and results. Because if we can have the real conversations and see each other for the gifts that we all truly bring, we're always problem solving. But if we learn not to look at each other with what's wrong with us and instead tap into each other's genius, this is how we get so much more productivity, happiness, space for innovation within workplaces.
What was a fork in the road moment that kind of brought you from thinking about speaking? Like you said, you've been speaking forever, right? So that brought you from speaking to, I want to be a professional speaker, like about 10 years ago. I want to dig in and go full force into this.
Yeah, several forks. But what stands out is, while I've been speaking my whole life, I felt like I was meant to do it more professionally, but I spent a good deal of time doing other jobs that had more what I thought were acceptable titles. People understood when I was selling marketing and when I was doing brand strategy and when I was doing consulting. So I think I had to go on my own journey of really overcoming imposter syndrome and seeing that I have value in my voice. And so it's really been the last few years that I've actually been getting paid and being able to show up and be more of my true self and trust what I'm bringing to the room. So a lot of that was transformation of myself and really valuing that what I do and what I say has value. And a lot of that came from just doing things and seeing results with clients. So it was like, as I got results with clients, it built my confidence, and that empowered me to keep going and do more.
What makes you so passionate about this topic? What makes you so passionate about what you do?
Oh, I think a lot is rooted from my own childhood and upbringing. And I think a lot of people in our own way, we relate where sometimes who we feel we are isn't always seen or understood by those around us. We all have to kind of struggle in some way to become our true selves, but it helps when we're supported in that journey. A few of those for me is I was the first in my family to graduate high school, and I had dreams and visions of having a life that wasn't just struggle all the time. And so that seeing things differently for myself, and also being a front person in a hard rock metal band. And I had all these stories about, can you be a creative and a musician and also be taken seriously in business, right? So I'm just passionate about helping people be more of their true selves, because I know what that did for me in improving my mental health, bringing greater happiness and success, the more that I was able to step into that for myself.
Yeah, that's important. The stories we tell ourselves can sometimes make or break what comes next, right? What is the best tangible advice that you could share with a new speaker who would like to have a business around speaking? Something like really practical that you could share with them that they can do to start.
So if you focus on if you were to meet with one person and help them solve a problem, what is the one problem or one thing you could help them with? It can feel overwhelming when we think about talking to lots of people. Mm-hmm. So if you can focus on, if you were meeting with one person, what is the problem or challenge you're uniquely equipped to help them solve? Because then you can replicate that for larger groups, rooms of 5, 10, 500. So allow yourself to sometimes simplify that down to what's one problem you'd help one person with, and then just keep growing from there.
Thank you so much. This was great. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Jamie Crosbie is a global keynote speaker helping people live fully with purpose. She's a TEDx speaker on breaking through self-limiting beliefs, a 3-time author, certified in peak performance mindset, and a chairwoman and founder for ProActivate. Jamie, how many years have you been a speaker, and why did you decide to become a speaker?
I would say I really started speaking at the age of 16 when I had to do a talk in front of an audience of 500 about optimism. That's when the passion for it began. And throughout my career, I always spoke as a piece of it, as a part of an executive leadership team or something of that nature at conferences. Mm-hmm. I became a professional speaker about 10 years ago.
Love that. And what is your topic of expertise? What do you like to speak about?
I like to speak about mindset and the performance mindset shift, helping companies and organizations really solve the problem of underperformance as it relates to the way people think. So shifting that and changing the way people think so they can maximize their success and breaking through limiting beliefs.
What happens when people break through limiting beliefs? What happens when they actually change their mindset?
They do whatever they do 38% better. So for sales organizations, I love to speak with sales organizations, leadership teams, entrepreneurs. They have 38% greater sales by just thinking at a higher level.
And was there ever a moment in time or a fork in the road that brought you to where you are now, where you decided, I'm going to be a professional speaker? I'm going, like, obviously you were speaking when you were 16, but was there like this fork in the road moment that 10 years ago you said, okay, now this is the time?
Yes, I had a mentor, Gerhard Swenor, who's the CEO and founder of Selling Power magazine.
Okay.
And we were on the phone one day talking about mindset. And he had just done this high performance mindset system training and certification where he was going to be putting other people through that certification to become experts in that. And I'm telling you, that conversation with him that was an hour long on the phone felt like 6 months of therapy.
Yeah.
It was really life-changing when I realized that 80% of our success is based on mindset and only 20% is based on skill set. And as an owner of a sales talent acquisition firm, I thought that is profound. We've got to learn how to qualify based on mindset. We've got to learn how to pour into the development of people based on mindset. So I went through that certification 10 years ago and decided I wanted to bring that message to others. And my passion has always been to help others fully live on purpose with greater purpose and really be all they were created to be. So this gives me an avenue to make that impact.
That's amazing. And if you were to give some kind of tangible advice that you would share with a speaker or share with somebody who is creating a speaker business, what kind of practical or tangible advice would you give them?
Well, I think about having a growth mindset and being the person who always wants to grow and continuously learn and celebrate successes. So there are two real pieces of that. I think there's the art and science of being a speaker. So always improving your craft, right? And that's engaging in that growth mindset. And then what is your formula for success? Because anything in life, we don't just get lucky, and maybe we do, but we can't replicate that if we don't know how we did. And so what is your replicatable formula for success that you're going to put into action? And even if you don't know what it is today, take action so you can create it and measure your success against it, and then you'll have one.
And everyone has their own unique formula for success.
Exactly. And that's the science of it. But whatever it is, you've got to think about the impact you want to make, but then take action to be able to lead to that impact, which is the business side of it.
Got it. Love it so much. Thank you so much for being here and talking with me.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Johanna Walker is someone who will teach you to own any room with strength and heart, become a master storyteller, and move audiences to action. She's a keynote speaker, a TEDx speaker, and she teaches presentation skills and storytelling trainings. She tells people how to keep it real so they can shine. How many years have you been a speaker?
That's a hard question to answer. I've started my speaking business, my coaching business about 10 years ago, but I was on stages as a theater artist for many years before that. So, in some ways I still feel like a new speaker because most of my work is coaching and training. So only in the last couple of years have I really put speaking in front. But I've been on stages for 25 years.
What's your topic of expertise?
I speak about storytelling.
Okay.
Power of storytelling to change lives and change the world.
Did you get some of the passion from your work in theater and on stage?
Definitely. And even before that, as a young person, I was very, very quiet. I was the girl who I would go for days without speaking. And it was through telling stories and telling my own stories that is how I connected to my voice.
Was there a fork in the road moment that brought you from being a sometimes speaker to a more regularly booked speaker?
It was really just decision. We were just making a decision.
Yeah. So you chose and then you said, okay, I'm putting my effort into this and now it's going to.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would say there have been several points where I've decided and then not picked up the torch. But I think it was actually getting support. It was deciding and then getting the right team in place.
Right team in place. Okay. And What is the best advice you could share with a speaker who would like to have a successful speaker business?
Well, I think a successful speaker business, there are two things. Like, I'm a speaking coach, so I help people craft great talks and tell great stories, right? So one is you got to have a great talk. You got to have a great talk, and it has to be from your truth and your unique, quirky, idiosyncratic, neurotic individualness, you know? Like not a copycat, not trying to be somebody else.
Right.
Seeing yourself. It's so obvious, you know, we read it about it in teen magazines years ago, but it's like hard to do. It's hard to actually pull that off and deliver value. But for the business part is pick up the phone every day and call somebody.
Call somebody and do what?
Have a conversation about what they're up to and how you can help them and what stages they know about. And, you know, I mean, specifically calling prospects and leads and having conversations and asking for the business. That's the hardest thing.
And where is the place that people can find you if they want to connect with you online?
I would say LinkedIn is probably the best place. My website is johannawalker.com, but I'm on LinkedIn regularly, and that's a great place to connect. And I always like hearing where people, I don't accept anybody's connection request, but if you tell me where you met me and why you're reaching out and how we connected, then I'd love to build a relationship.
All right. So you heard it here. Tell Johanna that you met on the Real Personal Branding podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wow, wasn't that cool? So one thing you should know about the speakers that attend this event is that these are not speakers who are just starting. And you kind of heard that in these little interviews, right? These are speakers that have been doing this for a long time, that have changed courses along the way here and there. That is the end of this episode from the National Speaker Association Conference. I hope you liked it. I hope you love hearing these insights. I know that it was really meaningful to me to be able to do this. If something stood out to you, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can connect with me on Instagram. I'm at ldaviscreative, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Lauren V. Davis on LinkedIn. And if you liked this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with a friend or share it on Instagram or any social media sites. Or if you left a quick rating or review on this episode or on this podcast, it would mean so much to me. It's like one of those things that, of course, it takes a few minutes of your time to do, but it really, really makes a big difference to me. So if you want to do that, thank you so much. Bonus points for you. Thank you so much for listening to the Real Personal Branding Podcast. I will talk to you soon.